Kerry joins us in studio to talk about her new book, Mercy in the City. Kerry, always a pleasure to have you in here.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here.
What made you decide to see if you could practice the Corporal Works of Mercy in an authentic, personal, meaningful manner while living a regular and hectic life? Very hectic life.
Well, it sort of started when I was writing an article for America magazine, where, as you mentioned, I'm an editor, and I was writing about a prison chaplain at San Quentin State Prison in California. So in my research, I started, Googling around for social justice and incarceration and Catholicism, and up pops, of course, this list of the Corporal Works of Mercy, of which visiting the imprisoned is one. And having gone to 13 years of Catholic schools, this is a list that was familiar to me. However, as I was reading it, I kind of realized I did not literally do very many of the things on this list. And so I decided to try to set out to incorporate these things more fully into my life in a way that I hoped could be sort of authentic and meaningful. And while maybe doing them, all within 40 days was my goal, I wanted to be able to incorporate them over the course of my lifetime in a more meaningful way.
Mm-hmm. We all, I think, see people in our travels, in our work, even in our leisure, people who are struggling. And I think we want to help. We feel for people. But sometimes it's easy, you just write a check. But it gets a little messy to practice the Corporal Works of Mercy, doesn't it?
It does. And it's tiring. And sometimes there's surprising amounts of bureaucracy or challenges or safety issues. There's so many things that you need to take into account. But I think overall you take the Gospels into account first and you say, these are the things that we're challenged to do. How do I do them in a real way and in a way that builds relationships with other people and builds your relationship with God? And it's not always easy.
Mm-hmm. What were some of your experiences?
One of the things that I did was wake up and go to a bread line at 7 a.m. where we handed out sandwiches to the homeless. And this was challenging for me for a couple reasons, one of which I am not a morning person. So that in itself sort of felt like a sacrifice. So I went there at 7 a.m. and you hand out sandwiches. And I think a lot of times we have a tendency to either sort of be afraid of people that we see on the street that we're not familiar with, or to sort of almost canonize them. So they're crazy or they're Christ-like, and that's it. There's nowhere in the middle. But when you go every morning and you talk to people and you say sometimes they have a good day and sometimes they have a bad day. Sometimes people thank you for sandwiches and say God bless you, and sometimes people take a sandwich and walk away. And you start to just really see people as people and just really take note of the humanity around us and how interconnected we all are.
So did you learn about yourself a lot by doing this too?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I think I learned that I needed to be more present, to really be there in a moment and to pay attention to people more. And I think I needed to also just be more proactive, to not be afraid to get started. It's very easy to say, well, I will do these Corporal Works of Mercy when I clean out my garage or when I finish this shopping list. And you can put it off forever. So it really, I think I tend to procrastinate a bit. So this experiment was a good kind of jump start for me to say, no, now is the time for this. It's always the time.
You're an inspiration to us, and your book is going to be an inspiration to many people.
So.
Mercy in the City, published by Loyola Press. But what about Pope Francis? He's been teaching us to go out to the peripheries, and he doesn't just say it, he does it. Yeah. Has he been an inspiration to you?
He has. I think he's my best PR guy right now. He's constantly talking about how to feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty. He urged the Vatican almoner to go out into the streets. There's been reports that he's gone out into the streets. And whether or not that's true, we don't know. But we know that this is the kind of church that he's created in these days that people think that might be true. And people want that to be true. And people want to do that themselves. And just the way he's reached out to immigrants, the way he's had homeless people come into the Vatican, he really is not afraid to sort of be a shepherd among sheep, as he said.
Absolutely. A lot of times we don't like to step outside our comfort zone, and Father touched on this a little bit. How do we get started to do something like this? I mean, it is in a sense, well, it's a very good thing. You can write a check, which is excellent. We like that at Catholic TV when you support us, so that's wonderful. Thank you. But how do you take the other step where you actually go out into the community, if possible, and help people?
Well, one thing I found is a lot of churches, a lot of our parishes have programs that sort of can introduce you to a lot of these works of mercy. This is the wonderful thing about our church, is that it is so involved in these works of mercy, and that through our faith and through our parish communities, we can become more involved. So even in New York, a lot of the groups that I worked with were out of parishes or were faith-based. And it really helps to do these things as part of a community to support you to keep going and to really put them into a context.
How to feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, visit the imprisoned, and keep your day job.
My day job.
What a great book, Mercy in the City. Where can people get a copy of this? Because I think that people need to read this.
Thank you. They can go to LoyolaPress.com. They can go to Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. It's now available on Kindle, and it'll be available February 1st in paperback.
Now, I'm a little disappointed, by the way, today.
Oh, yes.
Yes, because Matt always has pictures of you. This was your opportunity to get him back.
To bring a
And
family
yet-
photo album or
yet
something?
Yes, you had mercy on him, and you did not do it today. So, Kerry, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you
to have
very
on
much.
here.
It's wonderful to be here.